So I've often wondered what's going on in the head of your random Sony drone. Like, what kind of information is really going through their head? So I figured I'd take this opportunity, seeing that people are like a certain person being Hellhound is actually making a list and apparently not even checking it twice when he posts it. So I really wanted to go over this post here and find out what is going on for those in the head of those who actually support Sony. You know, not that it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying. So let's go over the facts that he's listing right here. And he's doing this right now. He's actually posting these facts. So, fact number 1. Microsoft hires a TV executive to take over the Xbox brand. That's actually not true. The current executive over the Xbox brand is Julie Austin-Green, who is not a TV executive. The person before that was Don Matrix, who was not a TV executive. The person before that is Peter Moore, I believe it was, who was also not a TV executive. Let's keep on going. Microsoft announced the Xbox One with DRM policies, which they would have kept had Sony done the same thing. Sony refused and made fun of Microsoft in the process. Fact. Well, Sony didn't make fun of Microsoft in the process, but it was also announced by the president of Sony himself that Sony actually had DRM policies in place and was about to implement them. And however, they held off the announcement until Microsoft announced it theirs. And because of the fact that Microsoft came under attack because of the DRM policies, that's when Sony backed up and decided not to do the DRM policy. So it's not the fact that Sony refused, it's just Microsoft decided to take the step first, and they kind of got burned by their step, and thus people actually now was like, well, Sony's great. So Sony was like, well, no, I'm not going to do DRM policies if Microsoft just went under fire for them. That's actually the truth in what happened. Microsoft does a 180 and changes everything. How is that a bad thing? That's fact, I guess. That's a good thing. That's called listening to your customers. It's called listening to the fan base. Number 4. Now, hold on. Just to let you guys know why they listen to the fan base. There might be, just a couple of things. One person said they listened to their fan base. Another phrase for their pre-orders wasn't where it needed to be. And yeah, that's how you listen to your that's how you get companies to listen to the fan base. Not by how many words you say and how much anger you put at someone, but with your wallet, basically, with your wallet. Fact number 4. They are copying Sony, and now the Xbox One has no real message of its own. Okay, listen. First of all, I don't understand how the Xbox One is copying the PlayStation 4. If anything, the Xbox One is copying the Xbox 360. And if you actually go ahead and take a look at what the PlayStation 4 is actually promoting to go ahead and kind of give it its own message, you'll see that the PlayStation 4, technically speaking, is copying, the Xbox 360 with its massive amounts of indie games that was originally brought to the limelight of the console brand by the original Xbox and the Xbox 360. In other words, without Xbox Live Arcade and Xbox Indie or whatever it's called, there would be no indie games within the consoles. Just saying. So yeah, if anything, both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 is more so copying off of the Xbox 360. Is that a bad thing? No. The Xbox 360 had plenty of features that it had that really made it a great system, and I'm happy to see that Sony is actually looking at the Xbox 360 and everything that it had and everything that made it great in order to go ahead and make their PlayStation 4 better. I definitely think that's a fantastic move by Sony. Number 1, Fact 5. Now keep in mind, I've only read up to Fact 4. Fact 5 is everything after Fact 4 is strictly like, this is total live right here. Live, you know what I mean. Anyway, if DRM and online authentication was still in play, Xbox fans would still fall on their faces and worship that piece of plastic. What? Okay, wait a minute. So let me read this again, because this sounds stupid, but I really want to make sure this is dumb as it sounds. If DRM and online authentication was still in play, Xbox fans would still fall on their faces and worship that piece of plastic. But wasn't it Xbox fans who did not pre-order the Xbox One and thus made Microsoft take notice and listen to what the fans were saying? So if that is the case, which it is the case, because Microsoft ain't gonna listen to what you say, they're gonna listen to what you do, then no. They would not fall on their faces and worship that piece of plastic, because that was already proven, seeing as Microsoft fans walked away from it when they showed off its DRM policies. Just saying. That being said, that definitely says a lot about PlayStation fans. If PlayStation fans has dealt with a lot of DRM policies of their own, whether it be small or not as big as the Xbox Ones, albeit, but still has dealt with DRM policies of their own, such as the new, you got to pay an extra $10 if you buy a game used in order to play the multiplayer version of it. Sony started that, and they were okay with that. Just saying. I know it's not the same thing per se, but yeah. Fact number 6. Now that DRM and online authentication is gone, they still fall flat on their faces and worship that piece of plastic. Actually, that's not really true. In fact, the matter is that a lot of Xbox fans that I personally know are, in fact, not really sure if they want to get an Xbox or not. I personally was definitely a fan of the system, and I'm not really sure if I even want to get an Xbox One or not this generation. In fact, if I get any system, it most likely will be a PlayStation 4's, even though I'm a PC gamer and I prefer my PC over any console. Who wouldn't? But the fact of the matter is that I'm actually getting a PlayStation 4 over an Xbox One at this particular point in time, only because of the fact that the PlayStation 3 is cheaper. And because it is cheaper, that's the one I'm going to get, because I'm not going to be playing a lot of games on it, just the ones that do not come on PC. Fact number 7. The original developer of the original Xbox has not been with the company. Microsoft since a couple years after... has not been with the company Microsoft since a couple of years after the 360. I don't think that was perfect English, but yes, he's referring to the original developers of the original Xbox have not been with the company. Is that true? I'm not sure if that's even true. Let's look that up. I don't remember who the original Xbox developers were. It's been a while. So let me go ahead and look that up really fast here. Let's see. Let's do a real quick Google search here. Original Xbox developers. Here we go. There's another one. And let's see here. So we got one guy right here who is, I believe, the original. Nope, that's not him. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm gonna look it up real fast here. Whatever. The fact of the matter is, now that I think about it, what do we even care if the original developers for the Xbox is here? Think about it. What kind of fact is that? Who the fuck cares? Because, when it all said and done, you're developing for Microsoft. So technically speaking, I don't even understand what that even, whatever. The people who made the Xbox 360 such a competitive platform has left Microsoft. This is true. That is a fact. Peter Moore has now left Microsoft, is with Electronic Arts, and yeah, Peter Moore was the man who made Xbox 360 what it was. That's just facts right there. Microsoft had Peter Moore to change the Xbox division. He brought the talent and secure some of the third-party support. That's pretty much what Fact 8 was. So he basically just made 2 facts out of 1. Okay. Fact 10. Peter Moore, the former president of Sega, left the company, and so did the initial vision for the Xbox 360. This is why exclusives are starting to die out and apps... Well, okay, but that was also Fact 9 and Fact 8. So he just pretty much put it in Fact 8, Fact 9, and Fact 10. But, okay, whatever. Fact 11. A former Xbox engineer has blogged about the downfall of the 360 and how it's gone stale. This is actually true, but at the same time, a former engineer and developer of the PlayStation 3 platform, as well as a lot of unemployed PlayStation 3 developers, have gone ahead and stated their dismay of the PlayStation 3 as well, and a Sony. So, let me see. Seriously, dude, if you gotta, you actually, like, I don't understand how he's asked all this time to actually post these facts. I'm just saying. Yeah. Um, a machine made by executives to cater to the bottom line, nothing more, nothing less. That's pretty much, that's just fact 13, by the way, which, by the way, is a fact for pretty much every console in existence. What would a console be about? Based pretty much is it's a whole bunch of executives. I mean, that's Nintendo and that's Sony. What, I don't understand what you're getting at. Apparently, see, that's the thing about Sony fanboys. Apparently, they believe that that Sony is creating this ultimate platform that is for, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of that kind of pony thing. You know? uh, where is it at? Fact 14. Who comes first, Sony or Microsoft? Oh, who came first, Sony or Microsoft? The one area that they excelled was online, and that's it. What do you mean? But the service is sorry, I thought you mean now. So I think he means the service is now outdated, and they hold services you pay for hostage on a machine you already paid for. What is he? Oh my God, dude! Like seriously, I think I know he's Mexican, so maybe he's starting to speak Spanish. I don't understand some of the stuff is not English. But anyway, I think he's referring to who came first, Sony or Microsoft. Actually, technically speaking, Microsoft came first, dude. Yeah, it is a fact that the PlayStation came before Microsoft's Xbox. That is true, but Microsoft has been dwindling in the gaming industry way before Sony was actually, and technically speaking. I'm just saying. Let me rephrase that. Microsoft has been developing software, games and things like that way before Sony was. Let me put it that way, because technically speaking, there were companies out there who were like buying Sony products to build into their machines, like Nintendo did to build the Super Nintendo sound chip. So, yeah, technically speaking, and then Sega also tapped Sony in order to make the Sega CD. But technically speaking, even before that, Microsoft was still developing in the whole games area. So no matter how you look at it, technically Microsoft was actually focusing on games first. They just were doing it on a PC. Let's see. Anything else? My God, fact 15. It was Ken Kugaragi, the father of the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, and the PSP, that pushed Sony for the shoulder buttons and ergonomic handles. The shoulder buttons were located on the actual Super Nintendo, dude, and the Super Nintendo was the original controller in where Sony actually got their controller from. So the shoulder buttons, if Ken Kugaragi did push for it, he pushed for it because he saw how good it was on the actual Nintendo Super Nintendo Entertainment System. They're that diluted. Fact number 16. And it's funny too, because I'm not really breaking a sweat when it comes down to disputing these facts here. Fact number 16. The DualShock controller was made so perfectly they kept it for almost 20 years. No, the DualShock controller. In fact, the DualShock controller had multiple iterations. So no, in fact, the DualShock controller had the DualShock 2 controller, which had additional functionality as the original DualShock controller. And then, in fact, with the DualShock 3, they actually removed the shock part out of the DualShock 3 and only made it the 6-axis controller, only for them to go back to the DualShock name because of the fact that Sony was like, hey, Rumble is last gen. Oh, wait, it's not last gen, currently, because we got better Rumble now, Just saying. And then, even to do that, the original controller scheme was actually a regular controller without the analog sticks. Then the second one was the one with the analog sticks. Then the third one was the Rumble. I believe that's the phrase, the way it went. So no, the actual DualShock was not perfect, and they constantly made changes over it. In fact, that was one of the biggest problems with Sony's platform, was because of the fact that every time that you actually got the money to finally buy a new controller, you had to buy another controller. So no, it wasn't perfect at all. Anyway, in fact, the DualShock and everything that came with the DualShock was copied off of Nintendo and what Nintendo was doing at the time. Remember, when the first original controller came out, it was like, okay, but then Nintendo came out with Nintendo 64, and that's when they had the analog stick. Thus, Sony made the DualShock controller, not the DualShock, Sony made the dual analog stick controller, but then Nintendo came out with the Rumble Pack, so then Sony came out with the DualShock, and like that. So they were really just copying off of Nintendo for the whole time. That's pretty much common sense about this time. Where are we at? Fact 16. Fact 17. It was because of Sony that the game industry began to cater to more mature gamers because of the age of 17 and 35, and was and is the core demographic to which Sony and Microsoft cater to. This didn't happen because of Microsoft. Not really. Kinda. Yeah. No. Maybe. It was kind of like they kind of went at the same time. In all honesty, right around the time that most of not God of War, but most of the mature games came out. No, dude. No, that is actually very incorrect because PC actually had gamers who were around that age, higher than that age, and all the way around. So PC is actually who brought those people over there. The fact of the matter is that when it comes to those games, most of the gamers who are of that particular character are still game on PC anyway. But anyway, that's beside the point. In terms of consoles, however, no, I would say it was no. I gotta say no. Well, that's a really hard question to hit too. I would think that see, like I said before, when it came down, sorry about that. When it came down to it, most of the people who actually were like between the age and 17 and 35, the one that most Sony Microsoft was catering to, were actually gaming on PC. For those who actually did that, they were actually gaming on PC at the time. So most of them, anyway. So when I'm trying to get this right here. I would say yes and no, but I would really say, in terms of what he's saying, I would say that they kind of hit at the same time. Like, there really is no beneficial to that particular one, especially since all y'all act like fucking kids anyway. The reality of it is that, yeah, it's just the same thing, man. It's kind of the same timeline. There really is no winner when it comes to who gained the 17 to 35, because, I mean, Microsoft, immediately when they came out the gate, they already had mature games, like Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive is considered mature because, bouncing breasts, even though technically speaking, I don't consider that mature by any other means of the word, but whatever. Halo and a lot of games like that. At the time, Sony was pushing out like some of the kid-friendly but arcade Japanese kind of things that wasn't really mature at all. It was pretty much teenager stuff, So they really wasn't reaching for that one up until. So no, Microsoft did actually come out with that first. They were the ones hitting the high level people between like 25 and 35 with their Halos and all of the games that made them as good as it was. Sony started going after that only after Microsoft hit the gate, because at the time Sony was actually releasing games like they didn't release God of War until the end of the Sony platform, the Sony PlayStation 2's life cycle. Not life cycle, but till PlayStation 3 come out, you know what I mean? So no, I'm going to have to say it probably was Microsoft-ish. Anything. And that's it. Oh, fact 18. A lot of you Xbox fans believe that gaming began with Microsoft when all they did... Wait, what? Okay, this is... Sorry. This is when people say the stupidest shit you have ever heard in your life, to the point where you got to say, okay, I got to walk away. How the hell can gaming start with Microsoft when everyone knows about the NES, the SNES, the Sony PlayStation 1, the Sony PlayStation 2? How the hell can it start off with Microsoft? That's what I'm talking about, people. Like, Sony fans say the stupidest shit sometimes that you just got to be like, what the fuck? You know? I'm just saying. Think about that for a second. How can you possibly believe that someone believes that gaming started with Microsoft? Gaming did not start with Microsoft. You know? Hold on a second. Hold on a second, actually. Well, no, I know the gaming didn't start with Microsoft. I was gonna think so, but but no. But at the same time, I've seen people. Well, I ain't gonna mess with that either. I ain't gonna get that. But in all honesty, the first game, the first video game was Well, no. Honestly, I'm not going to get. I don't need to get into that much of a history lesson. Going to Faceball or anything like that, or Space War, or even Tic Tac Toe for that matter. Fact of the matter is, dude, no, no. At that point, you just talking out your ass now. Talking about how Microsoft fanboys think that gaming started with the Xbox. No. Anyway, I'm done. Ugh. I'm done. Like seriously, like this is the shit that turns you off from gaming and all and stuff. When you literally watch a grown ass man like Hellhound, really go through all those stupidity facts. Like seriously, out of 18 facts, he only got one. And I mean, the stuff that he said, like a lot of stuff that he was saying, especially the last one, was just retarded. I'm out.